I'd like you to think of 3 entrepreneurs. Spend a few seconds really picturing them in your mind. How many of you thought of people like this? I'm an enterprise educator, and when I ask this question in schools, colleges and universities, these are some of the most popular answers. The issue is that although these are all famous entrepreneurs, these people are not representative of the amazing young people I work with. Entrepreneurs also look like this. There we go. Entrepreneurs can be young people, women, parents, teams, community members, multicultural, multi-faith, senior citizens, people with other careers, no qualifications at all, ex-offenders, people with disabilities. The list is endless. In 2019, the government commissioned Rowe's Review into female entrepreneurship was published, and there were many startling facts and recommendations. For example, what percentage of venture funding do you think goes to women entrepreneurs in the UK? As a clue, I'll let you know that 33% of entrepreneurs in the UK are women, so we'd expect that we'd be looking for close to 33%, right? The answer is less than 1%, 0.8. The Rowe's Review finds that only 1 in 3 entrepreneurs in the UK are women, a gender gap equivalent to over 1 million fewer female entrepreneurs. Closing the gap between women and men could add an additional £250 billion in gross value add to the UK economy, equivalent to 4 years of economic growth. There are many factors at play that have led to these shocking statistics, including the fact that only 13% of senior people on UK investment teams are women, and almost half, 48%, of investment teams have no women at all. One of the key recommendations from the review is for more enterprise education in schools. Hold that thought. You know when adults meet small children for the first time, children of 5 or 6 years old, and they all say, "What would you like to be when you grow up?" I love those conversations because they're so unlimited in their responses. I'd like to be an astronaut, a pop star, a famous footballer, a superhero, or I want to change the world. In the minds of these small children, there are no barriers, no expectations of what they might need to overcome to get close to these goals, just a belief they'll one day achieve their goal. Something happens by the time we reach secondary school. Adults, parents, teachers start to rank and categorise us, give us grades and scores, and go from saying, "That's amazing, bring me back some moon rock," to, "Don't you realise how few people ever get to become astronauts? You need to get top grades in all the sciences and maths, go to a top university, and even then the chances of getting into the European Space Agency are minuscule. It's an unrealistic goal. Maybe think about being a science teacher instead." So how does this fit in with enterprise education in schools? Well, whilst the report recommended more enterprise education in schools, what wasn't mentioned, and I believe should be examined in more detail, is the how and the who. How are we educating young people in business and entrepreneurship, and who is that education benefiting? For those unfamiliar with the current model, most schools follow current guidelines of 1 enterprise day per school year between the ages of 11 and 16. This generally comprises an external agency coming into school for the day and running an enterprise competition. For example, who can come up with the best idea, or sales pitch, or make the most money in a day. This competitive model results in a single winner, or winning team, and a whole bunch of losers. You'll be familiar with the format from TV shows such as The Apprentice or Dragon's Den. The impact of being told you're no good at enterprise because you lost in a very limited exercise every year leads many young people, particularly girls, who tend not to benefit from or respond to competitive education in the same way as boys, into thinking that entrepreneurship is not for people like them, people like me. In sports education, which at secondary school level is taught in a similar competitive way to enterprise, albeit more frequently and with a qualification attached. According to the Women's Sports Foundation, by the age of 14, many girls are dropping out of sports at 2 times the rate of boys. Through over 25 years of research, the Women's Sports Foundation has found many key factors that have led to this alarming statistic, one of them being a lack of positive role models. Today's girls are bombarded with images of external beauty and not those of confident, strong, female athletic role models. To some girls, staying within the mould they're constantly told to stay in is more important than standing out. The lack of positive role models was also identified as a key factor in the Rose Review. There is a large and extensive literature in psychology that shows women to be less confident than men when it comes to their relative ability. Think about that for a moment. Whilst there's been a very little research so far into competitive models of education for enterprise, those conclusions drawn from sports education and psychology show that these models disadvantage girls and lead to a large dropout rate and in some cases complete withdrawal from competitive sports by the age of 14. The language we use is really important also. A review by Harvard Business School of language used for reports and appraisals shows a marked difference between the language used for men and for women to describe their leadership qualities. In men's reports, the words were strong-willed, determined, focused, a natural leader, all with positive connotations. And in the women's reports, the words were overbearing, controlling, bossy, and opinionated, all with negative connotations. Women and girls then attempt to shake off these labels by dialing back their strong entrepreneurial and leadership skills in order to be more socially accepted. The review goes on to find that when women are collaborative and communal, they're not perceived as being competent. But when they emphasise their competence, they're seen as cold and unlikable in a classic double bind. So, what if we explored an alternative model of enterprise education? A non-competitive model comprising collaboration, social enterprise, empowerment, and strong mentorship from successful people who represent these young people. Young adults, women, multicultural, multi-faith, ex-students from their school who have been entrepreneurial and successful in a range of different business models. An enterprise education that isn't one day a year with winners and losers, but is embedded in our national curriculum and demonstrates the need for entrepreneurship across all disciplines. That encourages young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, that has imagery and language that is inclusive of women, celebrates and encourages young women rather than excludes them. Maybe we need to go back to the beginning and think about the entrepreneurial mindset, start of that in young people. Maybe then we could change those statistics facing women entrepreneurs in adulthood, as well as other disadvantaged groups. This is the motivation and design behind my academic research. I hope for a future where 50% of entrepreneurs in the UK are women, where underrepresented groups are visible role models, and that when next time we're asked to think of 3 entrepreneurs, we think more of people like this, or of the little girl who wanted to change the world. Thank you.